ciel bleu vole en silence les cœurs des gens amoureux.
Hey everyone! So for today's video, I am very excited because we are doing a battle of the bronzing balms or potted cream bronzers in this fashion. So for as long as I can really remember, I always lusted after the Chanel Soleil Tan de Chanel, and when I finally tried it a couple of years ago, I was so disappointed. I found that it was really warm on me. It was a bit patchy. I know they have recently reformulated it. If I'm being honest, I went to the counter to purchase and realized that they had only come out with 2 shades. So honestly, instead I bought Cheesecake Factory. And it was a really good investment. So even though I can't speak to the reformulated version, which apparently also has really split reviews, today I'm talking about definitely some of the best cream bronzers, balms that I have ever used. And not only that, some of the best bronzing products I've ever used. Some are certainly better than others, but we are just gonna dive into all of that today. And if you are not aware, this video is part of 1 week of cream bronzers. All week I'm releasing a new video talking about my love for cream bronzers, doing comparisons like this one today. And if you're excited about this video, if you're really interested in these comparisons, make sure to let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. And before we jump into the bronzer that is on my face today, I just have to give a shout out to this palette that I bought today. So it's from Revlon. It's their So Fierce Prismatic palette. This is the Slight Flex palette. This palette is so beautiful. I've only used it once, but I can tell you the shades have so much dimension. This shade over here is like an incredible wet looking eyeshadow. I just love this eye look. This is so affordable. You will definitely hear me talking more about this very soon. And I'll leave all of the makeup that I'm wearing today linked down below, but let's get into the bronzer that is on my face today. So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills cream bronzer, and I have mine in the shade Sunkissed. That's the shade that I'm wearing today, but it comes in 7 different shades and you get 1 ounce of product. So that is something that I love across basically all of the products that we're talking about today, is that you get so much more product when you are dealing with a bronzing balm versus a typical compact cream bronzer or a stick cream bronzer. You get more product. That's another reason why I think this kind of a formula is a really good investment. Getting back to this shade, I have the shade Sunkissed, and I have a little bit more of like a neutral skin tone, so I can kind of bounce between undertones. I think this one is a little bit yellow, but honestly, I still kind of like it. It definitely has more gold to it, but if you are fair with yellow undertones, I feel like this is a difficult shade to find. I would certainly look into this shade. I'm probably gonna pick up golden tan or amber and give that a go as well. But this isn't orange at all on my skin, so that is definitely a good thing. So something that I really love about this product is in general the texture and the emollients. It really feels like a luxurious texture without being too emollient or feeling greasy on the skin. It really loves to melt within the finger, but once you start to blend it out onto the skin, it just gives you a very creamy look while also setting down a little bit. And another great thing about this product is that it definitely has pigment. So that's something that you don't always get with more natural cream bronzers. Sometimes they're a little bit more sheer and you have to kind of build them up. This one really delivers pigment right away, so you actually need less product, and you also don't run the risk of really building up a lot of creamy product and it looking kind of exaggerated and thick on the skin. That's something that I really don't like. I do love a buildable cream product, but I don't want to build up product and then it start to look heavier and heavier, especially with a cream bronzer. So I love that this still has a really beautiful emollient texture, but that pigment is nice and even. As a whole, I just feel like it's really hard to get a bad blend with this cream bronzer. And I hear kind of over and over again people being afraid to use cream bronzers because they're not sure if they're going to get like a perfect, even, not choppy looking bronzed look. And really, I think that's like To me, that's the worst thing that could happen with a bronzer, even more than a bad color, if I'm being honest. At least for me, you can kind of correct your cream bronzer with a blush on top of it. You cannot really fix a choppy bronzed look. I really just feel like this is a really easy cream bronzer. It sets down, but it doesn't set down too fast. As far as the finish goes, I think it's more of a natural finish, but if you have a more oily skin, I feel like it would lean more dewy. But a really good thing about this is that there are some cream bronzers that set down, and even though they set down, they kind of like move and like pick back up on themselves. That is one really good thing about this cream bronzer, is it doesn't do that. That is really something that I've been paying attention to this week. So as far as cream bronzing balms go, this is definitely one of my favorites, and I highly, highly recommend it. And next up, we have a bronzer that I feel like I've been seeing a lot of people talk about. It is the Saie Sunmelt Natural Cream Bronzer, and this is in the shade Light Bronze. So this comes in 4 different shades. You get 1 ounce of product. Light Bronze is the latest shade, and that's the shade that I've been trying out. I find that this is one of the best cream bronzer colors for me that I've ever managed to find. It's just warm enough, but it still has that touch of pink that I think looks really nice on me. I think the 4 shades are decent, like they're kind of evenly spaced out. They look like they're well formulated, but I do wish that there were more. I have to say though that I really, really enjoy this shade. So I was the most excited to talk about this bronzer today because I feel like the fans of the original like Chanel Tande Chanel Soleil, another 15-word long name, the original Chanel bronzer. If you were a fan of that one, you need to try this bronzer. It takes all of the things that I really wanted to love about the Chanel and then just elevated it. So the texture of this is kind of, it's almost like a souffle kind of texture. It's not really, really whipped, but you can tell that it almost has an airiness to it while also being a balm. That makes for just such an airy, lightweight look on the skin. It really, really translates. Beautifully, beautifully emollient. I would say it's even more emollient than the Anastasia, but when you apply it to the skin, it's very lightweight. It's almost barely cream to powder. I mean, it still does feel like a cream going onto the skin, but it feels so airy, so lightweight, looks so feather light on the skin while also giving such a beautifully natural and creamy look. There are some bronzers, we'll talk about one later, that look a little bit more powdery on the skin while also being a cream. This one gives you the most lightweight look while also still having that beautiful creaminess to it, in my opinion. The blend on this is so even and beautiful. I think it's really difficult to make this look bad. It's another one of those bronzers that I think is really foolproof. It doesn't look dry and patchy on the skin, and as a whole, it really builds on itself very nicely because it is so lightweight. The finish is more skin-like, so it's not really, really dewy. I almost find that this has a touch of like an airbrush quality to it without this feeling like a silicone heavy rich product. There are some bronzers, like we will talk about later, that feel really silicone-y and kind of slip onto the skin oddly. Like you can kind of feel your foundation here and the product kind of slipping on top of it. This does not do that. I just really find that this is such a beautiful, beautiful cream bronzer that will work for a variety of different skin types. It's really easy to work with. The pigmentation is beautiful and even. I don't think it has quite as much pigmentation as the Anastasia, but it's still there. It's still really beautiful. Wears really nicely on the skin as well. So yeah, this is literally one of my favorite bronzers I've ever used now. Starting off on a high note with these two, I think they're both very, very beautiful. By the way, if you guys are finding value in this video, if you find all the demos and the comparisons helpful, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And let's continue on. Let's talk about a bronzer that really, like, you guys have been asking me to try this for so long, and I finally got around to it. I finally was like, Amanda, go on ColourPop, place the order, and here we have it now. So this is the Soul Face and Body Bronzing Balm. You get 1.1 ounces of product in here. Within the Soul range, there are 7 shades. This is the shade Light. And I have to tell you right away, even opening this, the first thing that you notice is this is coconutty. Is it really coconut? I think it's more pineapple coconut. It's very sunscreeny. This is a tropical smelling product. So right away, if you don't like fragrance in your makeup, this has a lot of fragrance. It's not something I smell once it's on my skin, but I do think that it's worth noting. Within all of the bronzing balms that we're talking about, I think this product has the most unique texture. I haven't tried another bronzing balm texture wise that is quite like this. Like, I feel like the Anastasia is great for like a middle of the road, really good, solid, creamy bronzed look. The Saie is a little bit more of that airy whipped balm texture, and this is so stiff. And it's kind of interesting, like I can really dig my finger into here and not a bunch of product is gonna come out. I feel like if I melted down the Fenty Matchstick formula, it would be kind of similar to this. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever, but I do think that it does set this formula apart. Another thing that's kind of in the same vein is that this, I feel like, has more of a translucent base to it than the other products that we're talking about. And I think that that's probably because this could also be used on the body. I feel like you wouldn't want like a really milky looking bronzer on the body. Maybe that's why the base of this is a little bit more translucent, but really something in common with all of these products is that they have a beautiful emollients to them, but when they go onto the skin, they do transform a little bit and become a little bit more soft and not powdery, but it doesn't remain super dewy, and that's definitely the case with this as well. This has a really nice natural finish, and it does melt down into the skin and look really natural and healthy on the skin. But do notice that if I wear it and like touch my face, bronzer will come off a little bit. It doesn't like move around the foundation or anything like that, but it is something that I think is worth noting. As a whole, I would be really excited to recommend this product because I do think that the formula is good, but I feel like the shades are a little bit odd. I know that a lot of other people, from the reviews that I've seen, a lot of people have had trouble with these shades. In particular, this is the light shade, and I find that it's a little bit orange on me. And because this is only available online, ColourPop has not done a good job of demoing this product on models so that we can actually see how it looks once it's applied to the skin. Because again, even just looking at this in the pan, it's really difficult to be able to tell how it's going to translate on the skin. It says that it would be suitable for more neutral skin tones, but I just feel like it's a little bit too warm. Formula wise though, it's really good. So if you think that this formula and color would be good for you, I say go for it. I wish that this product was a little bit more accessible, or that ColourPop would just come out with more swatches and just more material. But let's talk about an affordable balm bronzer that I really do like, and I have found a shade that I really enjoy. So this is the e.l.f. Putty Cream Bronzer. I wanted to include this in today's video because I wasn't sure how many people had this product on their radar when they were looking for like a balm bronzer. This is such a good affordable cream bronzer. I can't wait to share with you guys like my whole roundup of my favorite affordable cream bronzers, but this is certainly one of the best. Spoiler alert. So first of all, it comes in 8 different shades, which is really good, especially for affordable drugstore makeup. I have mine in the shade Tan Lines, and it is a beautiful neutral bronzer. I really love the color. You do get less product with this. You get the least amount of product, but the price per ounce is pretty much the same as the Soul. You would just have to purchase this more often. This is the thinnest texture that we are talking about today. It is that very thin putty texture. It goes down to more of a powdery finish. Because this is more of a cream to powder finish, I think that those finishes tend to do really well with people that are just getting into cream makeup, especially if you prefer that kind of finish. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's so thin. It works really well with a stipple brush. That's my preferred way to apply all of these. e.l.f. Airbrush Stipple Brush is like one of my favorite bronzing brushes ever. I'll leave it linked down below. But this is just so beautiful. The pigmentation is really nice as well. It's nice and buildable, and it's not going to look chunky on the skin as you continue to build it because it's so thin. And this is one of the most long-lasting cream blush formulas that I have used. It sets down and it doesn't pick back up on itself. It's not going to move around if you touch your face. It's just so good, and it's so affordable. I love, again, that this color is nice and neutral, and this isn't even the lightest shade. I highly recommend these. I think that they're absolutely beautiful. And the last product that we are talking about is from NARS. So this is the Sunkissed bronzing cream. It comes in 2 different shades, and you get 0.67 ounces of product in here. So I'm really not going to stay here for too long because some of you may know this already, but I am actually not a fan of this product. I wouldn't even necessarily not recommend this for the texture in and of itself because the texture is very smooth, it's very buttery. I think it's how the texture interacts with my skin. I've seen so many people find that they really like this, but this has way too much silicone in it for me. I find that sometimes when a formula has too much silicone, it kind of picks back up on itself. It'll start to move product that is under it as well. So it's really going to depend on like the foundation that you choose. There are a lot of different factors that kind of come into play, but I know for a fact that this kind of soft matte silicone blurring heavy kind of cream does not really do well with my skin. Sometimes I find that it looks pretty good, and then other times I start to get that patchiness, that kind of picking back up on itself sort of thing happens. It was the same thing with their soft matte blushes, and I really wanted those to work. I actually did a comparison video between those and the Putty blushes from e.l.f. Putty blushes were the winner. I'll leave that video linked down below in case you guys are interested, but yeah, this one I wouldn't recommend. It's the most expensive bronzer that we're talking about today. I think the price per ounce is even similar to Chanel. So let's do a quick recap. So if you're looking for a really rich, pigmented, creamy, just easy to work with cream bronzer, I feel like the Anastasia is a beautiful way to go. This is just such an easy to work with product. I think that this would last you a really long time as well. I've just been finding that it is such an easy product for me to just quickly apply, which is why I wore it today, because I was like, let's just get the makeup on. I need to get filming. I think this is the ultimate alternative to the Chanel bronzer. This is the Saie Sun Melt, and honestly, I'm just really into this right now. I really adore it. I love the shade for me. I love how soft and almost airbrushed it looks on the skin. And I would also recommend this one from e.l.f., the Putty Cream Bronzer, especially if you have more oily skin. I feel like this one's going to lock into place and last a lot longer. Not that these won't last a long time, but I just noticed that this one definitely had good longevity. As far as the ones I wouldn't recommend, I can't say that I would recommend the Sol just because I feel like the shades are really warm, and I don't know, I feel like the shades could be polarizing. I don't like that it has such a strong fragrance either. That does disappoint me a little bit, but aside from those things, like if ColourPop decided to expand the shade range and add some more like neutral shades, I feel like I could get behind it. The formula itself looks good, like the formula on the skin looks really good. Great bang for your buck as well. And I would also not recommend this one from NARS, which we just talked about. So as a whole, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope that this was really valuable and helpful. And if it was, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. I will leave my entire 1 week of cream bronzer playlist linked down below in case you want to catch up on all of my videos for this week. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.